Hello, COMM 3200 students. My name is Lane Wilkinson, and welcome to a short presentation on finding sources for your mass communication perspectives research. What I want to do today is I want to walk you through the basics of kind of what your assignment is and how that connects to library research. Talk a little bit about how best ways to organize your research and really focus on where to find scholarly articles, some specific resources that the library has. And then talk a little bit about how to use bibliographies, how to make your research a little better by going through works cited and that sort of thing. And then just a reminder, you can always get help from your librarians. If you contact us for a consultation or chat with us, text us, whatever, we can help you find the resources you need to complete your assignment. That being said, your assignment is a critical analysis of a media-related text, artifact, or object. You are going to have to analyze this primary source using concepts and theories from the class, as well as some things that you're going to find outside of class, both through Google, through the library, through other mechanisms. The format's a 5 to 8 page paper. And after about 6 or 7 years of helping COMM 3200 students, I've identified sort of 3 basic challenges that I think it'll be important that I can address today. The first is, how do I organize my research? The second, you may be asking, is how do you find scholarly articles in the library in the first place? And the third is, how can we use scholarly articles more effectively? And these are the 3 things I'd like to address today. Beginning with organizing your research. Now, you've already discussed the BEAM model, or done some readings on the BEAM model, I believe last week in Module 4. And the idea is simply that as we approach our research and start gathering our sources, we need to be thinking about how we intend to use the sources that we're gathering. Whether they be background sources so that we can provide some overview of a topic and common knowledge and concepts and facts, whether they be exhibit sources that we are going to be analyzing and giving examples of specific claims we're trying to make. Argument sources, the things that we're going to be agreeing with or disagreeing with or building upon. And then method sources, the sources that determine sort of how we're going to be addressing our research, the methodology, the theories, that sort of thing. So as you go through your research, you're going to want to take these sort of one at a time and start by saying, where am I going to get some background sources? Where's a good place to go? And different databases and websites and search tools have different uses when it comes to tracking down different BEAM type sources. When it comes to background sources, you can get background in a lot of different places, but places I like to recommend people start is going to be scholarly books and credible websites. When it comes to exhibit sources, your examples, your exemplars, these come from credible websites, newspapers, magazines, books, a lot of different places. Your argument sources, this is where we're really going to be delving into the scholarly articles and the scholarly books. And for your method sources, again, scholarly books, scholarly articles, depending on how broad or how narrow you want to take your research. So there's sort of different use cases. This is not 100%. There's obviously, you can use scholarly articles for everything, scholarly books for everything, but more often than not, when we look at bibliographies of successful research papers, we see a breakdown sort of like this. So let's get into scholarly sources. I'm going to set aside looking for credible websites. I'm going to assume that by this point, you already know how to find credible websites online. So I can set that aside. Although if you have any issues or questions about finding credible websites or improving your Google searching, that's one thing that the library can help with, and you can reach out and contact us. Overall, when it comes to scholarly sources, the library subscribes to over 200 databases. All told, we're looking at millions, if not hundreds of millions of scholarly articles. And importantly, these articles cannot be accessed using Google alone. These are things that if you find them in Google, you click the link, it'll say, please log in or pay $39.95 to download the article. Well, the library is paying the subscription fee so that you have access. And for mass communication, there are a lot of different databases you could use, but I'm going to focus on 4 different resources, and you should be able to complete your entire research assignment just with these 4 resources. They are the Library Catalog, Project Muse, Taylor and Francis, and Google Scholar. And I'll go through each of them one at a time. The first being the Library Catalog. If you go to the library website, right there, that search box right in the middle, that's the catalog. This has over 1 million books and ebooks within it, and it's constantly growing. If you find ebooks in the library catalog, you can download them as PDFs instantly. So it's There's no DRM or rights management restrictions or anything like that. You can just download the PDFs. When it comes to print books, because of the current situation with the pandemic, the ground floor of the library is closed right now. What you'll have to do is log into the library catalog and place a hold on a book. We'll go get it off the shelves and we'll have it waiting for you at the checkout desk. Again, like I mentioned earlier, books are really good for background and method sources. And what I'll do is just sort of walk you through really quickly the basics of the catalog if you haven't seen it before. What we'll do is take a theory. And so I was trying to think of something in mass communications and media and that sort of thing. And what I landed upon was parasocial relationships. So I'll just type it in, hit search. And the key thing that I want to point out first is you never want to use more than about 3 to 4 search terms when you're using the library catalog. Every term that you add to this box at the top is going to decrease your results, usually by a factor of 10, if not more. I also recommend you keep your searches fairly broad when you're starting out, just because you want to kind of get a feel for how many results there are total before you start chipping away into something narrower. You'll notice too that the first result is an article, and this catalog does include lots of article content. You may find some great articles using the catalog. You're welcome to use it as an article search tool. I'm not going to really talk about that. Instead, what I want to do is focus on the left-hand side. You'll see checkboxes. There's electronic books and physical books. I can apply filters, and it's going to find, here we go, parasocial politics, audiences, pop culture, and politics. And if I want, I can click view it online. It opens up, and it should give me a link. There's ebook, central perpetual. I click the link, log in with my UTC ID, and look for a PDF, download book. So I can download this entire book or individual chapters. And keep in mind, yes, books are long, and I've talked to students who don't want to use books in their research because they don't feel like they can read 200 or 300 pages. Most scholarly monographs are broken into nice chapters, 20 pages, that sort of thing. You can download and use just a single chapter from a book if that's all you need. So don't worry about a big 1,000-page book or anything. You can just go for individual chapters if you find the ebook. If you do find a physical book, here we have the Sage Handbook of Media Processes and Effects. If you click its title, it'll take you through and let you see table of contents, different things inside of it. And if you look right here in the middle, it says available at the UTC library, the stacks, ground floor, items in place. You can get it. If I want to get it, I have to click sign in with my UTC ID. And now I should have this little option that says place hold. It's not too visible. We've tried to make it more visible, but for some reason it just won't let us do it. But if I click place hold, I won't do it now because I don't want to hold it. Well, I can click it once. It'll say, do you want it? Do you have any special instructions? And you can submit request, and we will email you once the book has been pulled off the shelves and is waiting for you. You can submit as many requests as you want, and we'd be happy to pull whatever you want. So this is great for books, and as you'll notice, things like a big handbook of media processes. Most of these books are going to be broad. They're going to cover mass communication in sort of, from A to Z, all the nuts and bolts in a single book, that sort of thing. So books will tend to be much broader, and they're really good for gathering your background sources. They're also good for methodology. So if you're gathering your method sources, maybe you're doing something and you want to apply some theories of Stuart Hall on the media, we could type it in, click books, and yeah, I misspelled media there. Sorry about that. Media. And you can find books. You find Stuart Hall's original books. You can find books of people writing about Stuart Hall's theories, that sort of thing. So I really highly recommend you consider books. You'll find a lot of encyclopedias and broad sources that are great for background and methodology. But that's sort of the catalog. It's pretty straightforward to use. Just remember this semester, if you want to take out any print books, you're going to have to log in and place a hold so that we can get the books for you. This now takes us to our first database. So When it comes to finding scholarly articles, the place I tend to recommend that communication students, especially students interested in media, where they start is a database called Project Muse. Now, if you want to get to Project Muse, it is fairly straightforward from the library website. And let me back up and get there. All you have to do is click Databases, and then P for Project Muse, and it's somewhere down the list. P for Project Muse. Project Muse right there. So now we've got a Project Muse window. Project Muse is a collection of scholarly books and articles from over 125 different university presses and societies. These are universities like Johns Hopkins and Duke and Michigan, Tennessee up in Knoxville, North Carolina, a lot of really big programs. There are over 700 journals, so hundreds of thousands of articles, and there are over 500,000 ebooks currently in the Project Muse collection. All of these ebooks can be downloaded at the chapter level, so this sort of adds to what you can find in the library catalog. If we click through and take a look at it, it pretty much follows the same rules as the library catalog. You don't want to use more than 3 or 4 search terms when you search Project Muse. I tend to like to keep it broad. I'm going to search for a very specific media artifact. Try to think of a good example. And I watched back in the day that show Breaking Bad, and I know there's a lot of research on it, so I'm going to search Breaking Bad. But before I hit enter, really key here is that Breaking Bad is a very different search than Breaking Bad with quotation marks around it. When we put quotation marks around a phrase, we're telling the database, this is one phrase. Breaking and bad go together. If I don't have the quotation marks, it'll look for breaking in the first paragraph, bad in the last paragraph, and say, oh, I found your article. And if you have a complex phrase, Breaking Bad, Russian doll, things like that, put it in quotation marks. I'm just going to clean up your search results. When I hit search, you'll notice that it tells me there are 370 scholarly results. And then I can use the filters over on the left, and I can tell it if I want books, if I want journal articles, if I want reviews. I can go through further, look at specific series, journals, authors, and what I tend to recommend is either research areas, where I can say I just want film and media studies. I'll click that. It'll update my results. And then if I just want specific date ranges, if I was doing something on, for example, Russian doll, I wouldn't have to go back for the entire, 50 years of these articles. I could just do maybe the past, I think 3 years might cover it okay. For Breaking Bad, it's a little bit older, so I'll just leave the date as it is. I'll click articles because I want scholarly articles. And now I can start looking at some sources. If I see anything I like, all I have to do is click on it. And I'm going to unclick this real quick. There we go. Seriality and sustainability in Breaking Bad. That sounds interesting. Click its title and see what you get. So keep in mind those filters. When we actually use a scholarly article in Project Muse, you'll see a download PDF logo. You can just click that and get your PDF, print it, that sort of thing. The reason PDFs are especially important is because they preserve the original layout, including the original page numbers. If you have to quote from a source, for some reason, having those page numbers is really important. Also, any original images, graphs, that sort of thing are all preserved. When they break out a piece of dialogue from the show, it's laid out clearly like dialogue. In the HTML kind of website version, things are going to be, a little different layout. So sometimes it's easier to use the PDF. Plus, they print nicer. You can save them, email them to yourself, that sort of thing. You will notice it says View Citation. If you click View Citation, Project Muse will generate MLA style citations for you. However, we do recommend that you double check the MLA citation against a website like the Purdue OWL, against the MLA style guide. These are computer generated, so they do make mistakes. This particular one looks pretty good. However, I have seen some mistakes come through. It's usually little things about the italics or something being underlined, a comma in the wrong place, that sort of thing. But the citations are there. That can help you out a little bit. And what's really nice is that Project Muse, at least on the HTML version of their articles, they provide you hyperlinks in the works cited. So I'm going to scroll all the way down to the footnotes, and then here we have the works cited. Every work cited in this article is going to have a Get It at UTC or a Google Scholar link. We'll come back to Google Scholar. You can click that, but Get It at UTC will actually search through the library catalog and try to find you this particular article. If I want the very first article, this one on new materialisms, posthumanism, and unknown futures, I'll click Get It at UTC. It will search through our entire collections and it will see if we have the article. In fact, we do. It's in a database called JSTOR. So really like 2 clicks, and I've just got something I found in a footnote. We're gonna come back to using footnotes again, but using footnotes in the things you find in Project Muse can be a very quick way to rapidly expand your sources. Keep in mind the beam model as well. You might be reading an article that you found here, and they are talking about a particular methodology that they use. Maybe I'll go up to the top. When this author talks about a methodology that she's using, I can click the footnote and find out what source she used for backup, and actually go and pursue that source and potentially use it in my research. Likewise, if there's a specific exhibit that this author uses, I can go and gather that exhibit. It'll link me to the website or the book or wherever it was. So I like the way Project Muse links out all of its footnotes, the way it provides citations, and the way it gives you nice, clean PDFs you can download. It is a very large database. It won't have absolutely everything in it though, so there's a real possibility that something you're researching is not, there's really not much content in Project Muse. Well, that's why I like to make a second recommendation. Before I get there, just sort of rehash, keep in mind that with Project Muse, you want to really limit yourself to 3 to 4 search terms at most, really. Use those filters, especially the ones for the content, whether you want a book or an article, the ones for a subject, if you want to click film and media studies, and the year, if you're doing something and you want to narrow down your date range. Focus on the PDFs, use the citation generator, and use those footnotes. Like I said, I want to give you a second option, and there's a database out there. It's really a publisher that publishes a ton of stuff in mass communication. This is the publisher known as Taylor and Francis. UTC subscribes to almost everything in Taylor and Francis back to 1997. And according to this screenshot, that's almost 5 million articles, all scholarly, all peer reviewed, and almost everyone's going to be available for immediate download. So all the same rules are in effect here. We want to limit to 3 or 4 search terms, use quotation marks, all that stuff. And let's just do a quick Taylor and Francis search. I'll do, let's see, I'll do Breaking Bad again, just because it was a thing. And the articles, Sexual Violence in Serial Form, Breaking Bad Habits on TV, Walter White. Now here's something, Breaking Bad News in Veterinary Medicine. This is a large database that has a lot of different subjects. I don't really care about veterinary medicine, so I'm going to go to the subject on the side, and I'm going to get rid of medicine and maybe focus on, hey, communication studies. There you go. So now we've narrowed it down. We've got fewer results. Oh, that veterinary medicine still shows up. Oh, it's health communication. Okay, that's fine. In any event, you'll have some weird ones show up, but if you see something you like, just click its title. Same thing as Project Muse. All those citations are going to be, any citations in here are going to have references. You can actually click the citation. It'll open it up over on the side. Or you can scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see a red Get It at UTC button or a Google Scholar link. And for that Get It at UTC button, just click it and see if the library subscribes to this particular source. So Taylor and Francis is really big. It's actually substantially larger than Project Muse. So for some of your topics, it may be a good place to look. But for other topics, they may not have a whole lot either. So I think though, between Project Muse or Taylor and Francis, you should be able to acquire everything you need for this particular assignment. A third option, or actually fourth after the library catalog included, would be Google Scholar. Now, many of you have probably used Google Scholar in the past, and it is a great search tool, but it's important to know how it actually works. Google Scholar searches through the publicly available descriptions of scholarly books and articles, which means it can search through a title, it can search through an author, it can search through an abstract or a summary. What it can't do is search through the full text. Taylor and Francis searches through the full text of an article. Every word in an article is included in the text. Google Scholar, that's not the case. You're only searching summaries. So the way I like to look at it is Google Scholar searches very, very widely, lots of sources, but very shallowly. It doesn't delve into those sources a whole lot. However, something like Taylor and Francis or Project Muse can search the full text. So it's a smaller set of research that you're looking through, but you're searching it a lot deeper. So let me go back to Google Scholar here. We'll take a look at Google Scholar, see what it looks like. And there are a couple of things you do want to know about setting up Google Scholar to work for you. First of all, quotation marks do matter in Google Scholar. If I just look up Breaking Bad, I see Breaking Bad news. So a lot of, there's clinical oncology, cancer, JAMA, medical journal, Breaking Bad news to patients. I'll add television, just that helps narrow it down. You'll notice that on the right-hand side, some of these links say, here's a PDF, here's get it at UTC, and some don't say anything. If you don't see a link over on the right, take a look and you'll see usually a little bracketed thing that says book. So this one tells me this is a book. If I click its title, it'll take me to Google Books, but Google Books will only give me a preview. If I want to find this book, it's probably best if I search the library. If you see an article, here's Journal of Chicano Studies. I do not see a link to it. I'll just have to click the title and see if there's access. If you are on campus, you may very well have access. If you're off campus, you're probably not going to have any. In this case, it says I can buy the article for $22.50, even though I'm signed in as UTC Library. It just means we don't subscribe to this particular journal. So there is a way to get it, but I'll come back to that. If you do see Get It at UTC, click Get It at UTC. It'll go find it wherever it lives in the UTC library. In this case, I think it's Taylor and Francis. In fact, it is. There's Taylor and Francis. And yeah, Google Scholar. If you are off campus, this is really important. If you are off campus, Google Scholar is really not going to provide you with a lot of links out to articles. What you're going to want to do is set UTC Library as your default search for Google Scholar. And you do that by going up to the triple bar up in the upper left. So you see a little triple bar. Go to Settings, Library Links, and you can actually search for whatever university you want. But if you have UTC credentials, check UTC, save, and that will be your new saved library. We'll see. Last thing I'll point out with Google Scholar, and probably the thing I use it for the most. Here's that article I found in Taylor and Francis earlier. Walter Whiteness lashes out, Breaking Bad and male victimage. Maybe I liked that article. It was really good for my paper I want to write, but I'm having trouble finding additional articles. By finding the article in Google Scholar, I can look right down below at all these little tools, and you'll see one that says cited by 26. By clicking on that, I have found 26 articles since 2017 that have cited that Breaking Bad article that I really liked. Those that are immediately available have a Get It at UTC link that's very easy. If you don't see Get It at UTC, you can click on it and see what happens, and you may have access. But it's a really fast way of exploding your bibliography by finding who cites what. I'm going to try another search here that I promise you I've never done before. Riz Russian doll, and let's see. I know it's on Netflix, so I'll type in Netflix to see if that helps. So you do see a few things. Trapped in the Multiverse. It's a pretty new article, or a pretty new series, so there's not a whole lot, but I can find some articles here on Russian doll, so that's kind of helpful. Whatever you're researching, look in here, and you should find something. Maybe if you want a parasocial relationships, so here's some more background methodology or method sources I can take a look at. I mean, Google Scholar, as long as you have it connected to the UTC library, is a viable search tool, but just keep in mind it searches very broadly and doesn't search very deeply when it comes to sources. You will want to go back to things like Project Muse so you can search through the entire text of your articles and your sources. So, Google Scholar. So just to recap, I recommend you start with Project Muse. I think it's going to be a very clean, easy, efficient way to search. But I also recommend that you give Taylor and Francis a try, because depending on the topic, your articles may be split between the two different sources. Google Scholar is great, and my favorite way to use it is actually to find an article and see who cites it, so that I can find connected research that came after. And kind of overall, just really important is don't use too many search terms at once. We get used to using Google and typing in entire sentences. Tell me about parasocial relationships and Walter White and Breaking Bad. You can put all that into a Google search and it'll find stuff. In a library database or even Google Scholar, every word you add decreases the number of results. So start with very few terms and slowly add. Also, always keep an eye out for filters, whether they be for format, for subject, or for date. Always be looking for PDFs or the Get It at UTC link. And don't forget, you can ask the library for help if you ever have trouble downloading something or trouble working with your assignment. If you go to the library website, you will see a link that says help right up there in the middle. That help link, if I go back to the library, will take you to a page that honestly I think has way too much going on, but let's see. All these different options for different ways of getting help. What I want you to focus on is the left-hand side. There's a chat box. There is someone live on chat from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. just about every day. You can call, you can text, you can email. That's super easy. Just click the email, tell us what your problem is, and we will have someone get back to you as soon as possible. Or you can make an appointment. Specifically, you can make a research appointment, and you can say, hey, I'm free at 1 o'clock on Friday. Can I please come and talk to somebody? And we'll send you a Zoom link and we can talk over your project. Our consultations are incredibly popular. A lot of students like them. Most students come back for a second one or a third one even for other classes. And basically, you tell us your topic, you tell us what you need, what kind of sources. And if you tell us beforehand, we'll spend some time doing some research so that when we sit down on a Zoom call, we can kind of show you what we've compiled, give you a little dossier, talk about your topic, and help you find the sources that you need. So the library is here for help, and we want you to take advantage of that as much as possible. So that's it for just a quick overview of the library catalog, Project Muse, Taylor Francis, and Google Scholar. Try to remember the search tips. Try to get, remember that we're here for help. And hopefully I'll hear from some of y'all soon. So thanks and have a good rest of your day.